Gregor, how's it going?
Very well, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Gregor, tell us about the mood in the camp. Obviously, you were all geared up for the game in Paris a couple of weeks ago. It didn't go ahead. You've had a few weeks to kind of get over that Wales loss. Just tell us about the mindset going into this one.
It seems good. It's 2 weeks ago since we found out the game wasn't going to go ahead against France. So a lot of things have happened since then. Players have gone back and played club level. We had a group of players that were in last week. So we did manage to have a few training sessions. And then we've had everybody back, everybody fit, which is a real positive. We've had a good week's training, just finished a big session this morning. So the players are focused. They know we're likely to have 3 games in 3 weeks. So they're up for that. And they're certainly aware what a big challenge this week is.
You've been able to pick off results against all the big Six Nations countries in recent times on your watch, apart from Ireland. What is it that Ireland have had over Scotland? What have you not got quite right against them in those games that you'll have to get right this weekend?
It's probably an 80-minute performance and making the most of your opportunities. In the last 3 games that we played against them, we've created opportunities. Whether that was 2 years ago, I thought we played very well in the first half here at BT Murrayfield. To the 2 occasions we've played over in Dublin, we've had parts of the game where have gone our way. In the autumn there, we were 9-3 up and we were playing really good rugby. But then they dominated for periods and put points on the board. So we know it's going to be a real physical contest. We know Ireland will have some time in our 22. And we're going to make sure they don't come away with points on a regular basis. But we've got to take our chances when we do get them.
Thanks, Gregor.
Thanks.
Gregor, when you say obviously you're working towards 3 matches in 3 weekends, do you know what the hold-up is with confirming the match in Paris and whether you expect that to be confirmed quite soon?
Well, we hope so. We know there's a date that's out there on the 26th that would suit everybody and would link very closely to the tournament, just finishing a week after the other games. But there's a few things that have to be sorted, notably getting all our players available and agreed release from clubs in England and France. So I believe those discussions are ongoing, and I'm not sure when they'll be resolved, but we hope that'll be soon.
Is it fair to say that if you can't get assurances that all your players will be available, that in your opinion, the match can't go ahead on that date?
In my opinion, that's a good way of putting it. Like I said, it's not going to be my decision on this. For a tournament of the standing of the Guinness Six Nations, you need the best players playing against the best players who are available. Now, sometimes you get injuries, but we certainly want to have a full group of players to select from, and I'm sure that's what everybody's working towards.
Cheers.
Hi, Gregor. Was there any frustration at all that the possibility of a 28-0 walkover or anything like that wasn't sort of taken on more seriously, given at the end of the day that you and your team over the last few weeks have been adhering to all the COVID rules, and it seems that the French camp there was certainly some bending of those rules?
No, we were all aware of the rules going into the tournament. There wasn't going to be a 28-0 win or even a draw. It would have been a delay of game or postponement. And you could follow all the rules and protocols, but you could still get the virus into your camp. We have a situation where our players are coming from other teams every second week. So I don't think we could have set something up because it could be down to bad luck as well as any other circumstance. So now we want the game played, so do France, and let's hope it gets played in the next few weeks.
In terms of that sort of 3-week sort of schedule, you're only sort of 18 months out from a World Cup in Japan where you had to sort of deal with sort of tight turnarounds like that. I mean, how much of a benefit will that be still having those sort of routines in mind to sort of prepare yourself for this sort of rapid sort of schedule of games if it does go ahead after the week after the 26th?
Yeah, it's not as tight a turnaround as Japan to Ireland, so it'll feel like a long week. But it does prepare you well for circumstances like what could happen the next 3 weeks. And it's actually good preparation for future World Cup. We have a 6-day turnaround in Italy, and then another 6-day turnaround if the game goes ahead on the 26th. So you're going to have to adapt your training week and focus more on recovery and clarity. So that is what you would likely get in the World Cup with the games played every week.
Thanks, Gregor.
Gregor, you've had significant investment news this week, really positive for the Six Nations. How important do you think this investment is for the future of Scottish rugby?
Well, it's a massive and timely boost, given that all sport and all rugby nations are not able to generate anything like the finances that they would not normally generate. So to get this boost now can give you security for the future, your future planning, can help those clubs at amateur level get back on their feet again, and can make the game as competitive as possible at the top end. So I think it's great news for our sport.
Tomorrow kind of marks the day where the previous Six Nations game against Wales was called off. It's been a difficult year for all of us. Just sum up how it's been for yourselves at Scottish Rugby.
Yeah, I didn't realise that was a year, but it's been a strange year. But I'd say the last 3 or 4 months, we feel in a real privileged position to have played those internationals in October, November, December, and now to be involved in the Six Nations. It would be great if we could play in front of crowds and bring our supporters back to stadiums. But we know that they're watching us, and especially our first game of the season, knowing the reaction for that win and what it meant to them, then we've got our responsibility to keep playing our best and keep lifting the spirits of people back home.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi Gregor, hope you're well.
Murray, how are you?
Not too bad, long time no see. Can I just ask you about Jamison Gibson Park starting at 9 for Ireland? Obviously a little bit different to previous meetings with Scotland. Does he change the picture for you guys?
Well, he's a player on form. Obviously, Connor and Johnny have built a lot of cohesion at international level playing together. Jameson's a club teammate of Johnny's. I think he plays at real tempo. He snipes down the wide channels pretty frequently. He's got a good relationship with his wingers. So he's going to be a threat. He's got very good basics, so we're expecting similar kicking accuracy that you would get off Connor. So yeah, whoever's playing 9 at whatever stage in the game, we know we're going to be tested in defence and tested with their kicking game.
There's been a good bit of talk about kind of change under Andy Farrell. Having played them twice now, is that the case, or is it similar to previous Ireland teams?
There's a lot of similarities with how Ireland have been successful over the years. Very strong set piece. I think the lineup has been excellent the last 2 or 3 games. They're very, very good in contact, both in attack. They've always had the best contact effectiveness, efficiency over the years, and that's continued. But they're also showing a willingness to compete for ball when you're attacking, and that's evidenced by their selection, picking someone like Tag Byrne, but also by their philosophy. They look to challenge a lot of those breakdowns. So that there's the similarities. I think there's difference and maybe how they are defending at times, and they're certainly looking to play with ambition once across the halfway line and bring their back three into the game much more.
Thanks, go up.
Thank you. All good, I think. No more questions.
Gordy Sutherland. Oh, Gregor, sorry. Can I just ask, the thought that you might have to play 3 games in 3 weeks, has that changed your training in any way this week? Have you had to sort of like go maybe slightly easier on the players, conscious of the fact you might have 3 games in a row? in quick succession?
Not so much this week, but we have gone easy on the players this week because we didn't fill that extra days that we had, being a Sunday game and an 8-day turnaround, with another training session. We were tempted, but we thought we'll just start a day later. And we've came across a formula now that we believe works for our players. We're lighter at the beginning of the week, and we have a couple of intense days going into that game at the weekend. Now, when we play Italy and potentially France with 6-day turnarounds, we'll have to lose one of those intense days. And we'll have to work from day to day and week to week, depending how physical the games have been and how much training we can effectively do with our players. And the other side of that as well is do we rotate our squad over these 3 games? Cohesion is important, but also getting players that can play 80 minutes of test rugby back to back is going to be a factor.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gregor,
Sorry,
can you hear me?
Can I ask about the, if you could just talk through the 4 changes, please?
Yeah, if I can remember them. Obviously, Xander Fagerson is unavailable due to suspension. So VP Nell comes in for him, someone who's been in really, really good form this year for his club. I think physically he's in best shape of his career. So there's a lot more rugby left in VP. And we know he brings a lot of experience and power at scrum time. Jamie Ritchie comes back in. He was available for our last game, the French game. So he's been raring to go and he's been training really well. Sam Johnson, again, another player that was available for France, is back in at 12. Someone who's featured a lot for us over the last couple of seasons and is now back to full fitness. And Sean Maitland gets a nod at wing ahead of Darcy Graham. Our 3 wingers have played really well in the championship. Duan, Sean and Darcy. Sean's played a couple of games for his club since that England game. And we feel, given our opponent's potential strategy this week, that Sean's strengths are better suited to this game.
Gregor, Liam here at Rugby Pass. You've got Chris Harris back in the side again this week. It's going to be his 10th successive start for Scotland. Can you explain to me what he's been doing over the past year that has made him such a first choice selection, whereas before he was in and out of the team, being left out of squads and stuff like that? What's he done in his game to be a regular selection now? And he's now in the frame for the Lions as people talking him up as a potential test starter at number 13 if the summer tour goes ahead.
Well, he's very consistent. You know you're going to get a lot of work rate out of Chris. He's an outstanding defender, one of the best defensive 13s in the world game just now. And he's worked hard on his attacking game. His running lines have improved a lot. But also he's got more confidence at taking on the opposition with ball in hand. We saw that in the last game against Wales where he made a couple of breaks out wide. So he's building an all-round game. He's one of our leaders, defensive leaders, and he's a really good influence on those around him. So it's great that he's available again this week. He played for his club last weekend. I thought he had a fantastic performance in their win against Wasps, and it's great that he was fully fit for training this week.
Can you speak to me just about his attitude? It's very easy if a player gets left out to take it in the wrong way. What's impressed you with the way when he has been left out that he has bounced back and is now the player that he is?
Well, it's been a while since he's been left out, but building up to the World Cup, he did miss, I think, the Ireland game. And the way he came off the bench in that game, the start of the World Cup, and the way he trained meant that it was going to be difficult for us to leave him out. And since then, he's worked hard to make sure that he doesn't lose that opportunity and has played consistently well for us. And I must say as well, Hugh Jones's form this year has been excellent. So we feel with those 2 guys pushing really hard at 13, we've got very good depth and different types of players as well that you can introduce at certain times in the game.
Thank you.
Gregor, John at the Max. Al Kellock's just been named the managing director of Glasgow Warriors. Obviously, he's both had success at that club. So just a word on Al, his character, and what he could bring to that role for the Warriors.
Well, he's extremely passionate about Glasgow Warriors, about rugby in Glasgow, and there's no better man to lead things off the field. He's gained experience now over the last few years since his retirement about the commercial world, and he's really enjoyed that. It's often hard to make that transition from playing into a different role, and I know he's enjoyed working on that business side. So to bring that experience back to the club he loves, I wish him all the best, and I'm sure he'll have a positive influence on those around him and make sure Glasgow go from strength to strength over the next few years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Gregor. Can I just ask a couple of questions about the bench, if you don't mind?
Okay. I think Matt's telling me these are the last two questions. So. Sure.
All right. Well, I'll make this quick then. You've got no sort of specified fly half cover. Should the unfortunate happen and Finn Russell goes down, who are you expecting to move into that slot?
Stuart Hogg. So Hoggy played there for about 30 minutes, I believe, against Wales in the autumn. When we played Ireland, last time we played them, the final fixture of the Autumn Nations Cup, Jacob van der Waal started, and we didn't have fly half cover on the bench, so Stuart was due to cover that position if required. We feel where Stuart is just now, that getting him on the ball more would be a positive thing. He's our captain, so going into 10 as an attack leader and team leader would be something that flows naturally.
And Sam Skinner was called up and then he's been sent back down the road. A lot of people assumed he would at least be on the bench. Why have you gone with Gilchrist and Haining rather Skinner ahead of one of them?
Yeah, look, there'll be a number of factors going into selection. Form would be one, what they've done for the team in the past, and also what the opposition we're up against this week. So that's why Grant and Nick got the nod over like Sam and others that were in the mix. Alex Craig's been in our squad, and Cornell Dupree as well, and Rob Harley. So yeah, we got good competition there. It's the first time we brought Sam back in for the Six Nations squad, and one of the reasons was that he was very close to making that 23. We've not called up that many English-based players throughout this period unless they were in the mix for the 23. So Sam's aware of that, and he's just going to build on a good performance last week, this weekend, and see where he stands next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.